Why are banks so eager to get you through their doors? They're everywhere on every street corner, in malls, and now right in your pocket with mobile apps. But is it really about helping you manage your money? Or is there something they don't want you to know? Just like Henry Ford once said, it's a good thing a lot of people don't even know how the banking system works because that will lead to a revolution. While banks do play an important role in the economy, make no mistake, they are businesses first. Their ultimate goal, maximizing profits, often at your expense. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on how banks really operate, how they make money off you, and most importantly, what you can do to protect your hard-earned cash from falling into the hands of greedy bankers. The first known banking system emerged in Babylonia around 2000 BC, where the priests and rulers of temples became the first bankers. They kept track of deposits and even lent grain to farmers and merchants, with interest, of course. Fast forward to ancient Greece and Rome, where banking became more sophisticated. Instead of storing just grain, temples and moneylenders started holding gold and silver, issuing the first forms of loans and credit. The word bank comes from the Italian word banco, which means bench or table. This is because back in the days, moneylenders and merchants conducted financial transactions from wooden benches, bancos. If a banker failed or went bankrupt, their bench would be broken in a public display of disgrace. This led to the term bancarotta, which means broken bench, and this is the origin of the modern word bankrupt. In the 15th century, the Medici family of Florence created one of the world's first true banking dynasties. They pioneered double-entry bookkeeping, which we still use today, and developed a system where people could deposit money and withdraw it elsewhere. Their influence spread across Europe, making banking a powerhouse industry. In 1694, the Bank of England became one of the first institutions to issue paper money backed by gold, setting the stage for modern banking. But with power comes greed. Banks funded wars, controlled interest rates, and created financial crises. From the Great Depression of 1929 to the 2008 financial meltdown, history has shown that when banks chase profits, everyday people pay the price. Fast forward to today, banks are digital, global, and more complex than ever. But one thing hasn't changed. Their core game is still about control, profit, and debt. Now it's time to review some of the secrets your bank doesn't want you to know. Think about the way we interact with banks. It usually comes down to two things. We either deposit money or borrow it. Let's talk about the deposit first. Banks want the customers to save, but they don't store money. Have you noticed how your savings account barely grows? As of February 2025, the highest high-yield savings account in the US from Open Bank offers 4.75% per year. Sounds decent, but compare that to the federal funds target rate of 4.25 to 4.5%, you're only getting a tiny 0.5% bump. Factor in the current US inflation rate of 3%, and suddenly your real return shrinks to just 1.75% per year. Meanwhile, what are banks doing with your money? They're not just holding on to it. Instead, they either loan it out at much higher interest rates. That means banks are making anywhere from 2% to 12% profit just by moving money around. Your money.
Move out. Move up. Move somewhere with a better view. You could get conditionally approved for a Westpac home loan online in minutes.
It gets even worse when considered that most people don't even use high-yield savings account from the less known online banks. A typical savings or checking account from a major bank, the interest is close to nothing. They also use your money to invest. We've always been told in order to build wealth, you gotta save money. But putting money in a savings account that offers tiny interest can barely help you keep up with the inflation. The customers are paying a big opportunity cost for the returns that we could be getting if the money is used elsewhere. From the asset class point of view, historically, the best way to outpace inflation has been not the CDs, money market funds, or bonds, but to put your money into the economy itself through businesses, aka the stock market. Banks know this the best as they are savvy investors. They use your money doing just that. So instead of putting your money into a savings account and let the banks invest your money, why not invest directly yourself? This is a typical lesson that we should believe what they do, not what they say. Of course, retirees or people who need immediate access to cash might want to keep more money in savings for stability. But if you're young, you have something incredibly valuable, time, on your side. And time is what makes higher return investments like stocks work in your favor. Save up your emergency fund first, of course. Secret number 2, overdraft fees are a big business. Ever swipe your card thinking that you just had enough in your account only to be hit with an overdraft fee? An overdraft fee happens when a transaction like a debit purchase, ATM withdrawal, or check payment takes your account below zero. If you're enrolled in your bank's overdraft service, instead of declining the transaction, the bank covers it for a price. Most banks charge a flat fee per overdraft, averaging around $35 per transaction. On top of that, they charge interest on the amount you've overdrawn, anywhere from 12% to 25% per year. Historically, banks in the US alone make over $11 billion a year from overdraft fees. That's a huge source of profit. Although we never heard banks advocate customers to overdraw, they make it surprisingly easy to customers. Many financial institutions even process larger transactions first to increase the likelihood of smaller transactions causing overdraft situations. Many major banks in the US and Australia offer overdraft services. So how do we avoid this fee? Opt out. Contact your bank and ask them to remove overdraft protection from your account. If a transaction exceeds your balance, it simply won't go through. Sure, it might be inconvenient in the moment, but it forces you to spend within your means, and that's always a good thing. Secret number 3, banks can reorder your transactions. You think your bank processes transactions in order you make them? Seems logical, right? Deposit some money, then use your debit card to make a purchase. But banks can rearrange the order of transactions. They can do it in chronological order or by transaction size. Why does this matter? Imagine you deposit money in the morning and then make a few small purchases throughout the day. If your bank processes the withdrawals before the deposit, you could temporarily have insufficient funds that would trigger overdraft fees. Yep, those same fees we just talked about. It's a sneaky way some banks maximize fees, and while some have faced legal challenges over this practice, it still happens. So what can we do? Track your balance closely. Don't assume a deposit is available immediately, and opt out of overdraft protection. This prevents your account from going negative. And banks matter. Some banks are more consumer-friendly than others. It might be worth switching if yours has a history of shady transaction practices. If you've been curious about the LED ticker behind me, let me introduce you to Fintic, the ultimate LED ticker that lets you display livestock, index, commodity, and forex prices, along with weather, news, or even sports updates. A big thank you to Fintic for sending this my way. It even comes with a pre-installed web control panel. Just connect through any browser and you can customize what to display and how it appears. If you want to bring the dynamic energy of Wall Street or the vibrant lights of Times Square right into your bedroom or home office, click the link below and use code Irene to get 5% off. Now, let's get back to the content. Secret number 4, credit card rewards aren't free. We all love those credit card reward points, free travel, cashback, and more. But we have to know the trade-off for these perks. Those rewards aren't really free. Credit card interest rates are usually around 20% or higher. So in other words, rewards are funded not by the bank, but by the people who carry a balance and pay high interest. Banks are counting on most people not paying off their balance every month. Points and perks work for you only if you are disciplined, which banks know is not an easy task for most people. There are 12.52 million credit card accounts in Australia. There are around 17.22 million actual cards on issue. This means for around a third of accounts, there's more than one card holder on average. This also means that there are about 0.46 credit card accounts per person or 1.35 per household. The total credit card debt in Australia is $42 billion with average monthly repayment as $2,858. But if I ask you, do you really understand how does your bank calculate your credit card interest? You may say, I'll just pay back within the interest rate period. But do you believe some transactions don't even have interest rate periods? Let's take Commonwealth Bank, for example, where they offer an interest-free period up to 44 days. From day 1 to day 30 is a statement period, during which you purchase a pair of sneakers that cost $100, as well as a new laptop worth of $1,000. By day 30, you will still have 14 days to pay back the money you owe. As long as you pay back in full by day 44, you wouldn't need to pay any interest on purchases. But if you don't pay your closing balance in full by the due date, that is by day 44, if you make a partial payment or don't pay on time, or falling into one of the traps, which is if you only pay the minimum amount shown on your statement issued on day 30, you will be charged interest and lose your interest-free period. Let me repeat, if you don't pay $1,100 in this case before day 44, you will lose your interest-free period. You don't want that to happen. I'll explain why, but let's go back to the minimum repayment shown on your statement first. Many credit card holders don't know how to read the statement properly, and they tend to only pay the minimum payment on their statement each month. How does this minimum payment come from? This number is usually the greater amount of 2 to 2.5% of the money you owe and a fixed dollar amount around $20. For our case, it's probably around $22 shown on the statement. The bank says, pay at least the minimum by the due date to avoid a late fee and continue using your card. It should be okay, right? So I'll just pay $25. But wait, who is going to pay back the remaining $1,075? You think there's no consequences for that? The consequence is to lose your interest-free period. It means that any new purchases you make will incur interest at around 20% from the day you make them until they are paid off. To make the situation even worse, some types of transactions have no interest-free period, meaning you start to bear the interest from the day they are made until they are paid in full. Normally, transactions like cash advance through ATM withdrawals, traveler's checks, or some certain types of business credit cards. The best way to regain your interest-free purchase is by paying the total amount you owe up until today. If you don't have enough fund, you can pay the closing balance. This is the amount that you owe from your last statement period in full by the due date shown on your statement to get interest-free on new purchase items in your next statement period. The credit card interest can really add up if you don't pay attention to it, and here are a few tips to help you avoid paying the interest. You can set up automatic payments to pay off your credit card or pay off as much as you can every month as soon as you can. Remember, you don't need to wait for the due date. And only use your credit card to pay for things that you can afford to pay back. Or be like me, who doesn't have a credit card. Secret number 5, banks don't appreciate your loyalty. You think being a long-term customer would mean better service or perks, but banks tend to offer those best deals to new customers. If you've been with the same bank for years, they're counting on you not wanting to switch. Meanwhile, they're rolling out special deals for new customers to attract more business, like welcome packages, cash bonuses, higher savings rates, or lower fees. Tactic to deal with this: don't be loyal to your bank. Compare your bank's offerings with its competitors. Don't hesitate to switch accounts for better rates and services. I usually compare savings account, debit cards, and brokerage platforms on a yearly basis. So if you don't want to spend the time to do the research and get the top 3 list, subscribe to my channel for yearly reviews. Secret number 6, banks don't want you to know about credit unions. A credit union is a financial institution that is owned by its members instead of hungry stakeholders. That means instead of trying to maximize profits, they focus on giving members better deals like lower loan rates, fewer fees, and higher savings interest rates. As of June 2024, there were over 4,500 federally insured credit unions in the US, holding a total of $2.31 trillion in assets. That's a 47% increase since 2019. In Australia, there are 33 credit unions and building societies, with Great Southern Bank, formerly Credit Union Australia, being one of the largest. And when it comes to customer satisfaction, credit unions score 90% compared to 81.5% for the big 4 banks in Australia. Now, are credit unions always the best choice? Not necessarily. As of shooting this video, the savings interest rate from Great Southern Bank still can't beat the interest rate from the digital bank ING, which is currently rolling a welcome perk. If you open a savings account by end of March, you can get $125 cash reward using my link. Having said that, if you prefer a physical branch you can visit, you may choose the credit union over a digital bank like ING. Secret number 7, banks are not set up to make you financially independent. The less financially secure you are, the more products that they can offer you, like loans, credit cards, or overdraft protection. Australian millennials must remember the Dolomites banking program run by Commonwealth Bank in the 1980s and 90s.
The Dolomites have arrived from outer space.
We make saving fun and easy, whatever the amount. A Dolomite go further in a Dolomite account at the Commonwealth Bank. Which bank?
You take your money to school weekly, read newsletters, and win prizes.
Now, children, you might remember when we opened our Youth Saver Commonwealth Bank accounts, we all joined the Dolomites Club. Well, today we have a special guest.
I hope it's Beyonce.
No.
Any millennials that is watching, can I ask you, did it really teach you how to save? Or was it just a dodgy way to make you a long-term customer of Commonwealth Bank?
We believe it's high time the Dolomite got a facelift.
Kids are gonna flip for this.
People kind of like the money box. It symbolizes
Casey.
Here's why it was so effective. 35% of people still bank with the institution where they first opened their account as kids. Only 5% of people switch banks within a 2-year period. Banks know that if they hook you young, you'll likely stay forever. From a student loan to a credit card, a car loan, and eventually a mortgage. It was a master plan to create lifelong customers. And what about the minus tax rate on interest? Kids who earned over a certain threshold on their savings could get hit with a 45% penalty tax, yet no one seemed to mention that. Thankfully, ASIC eventually banned the program in 2021, calling it out for what it really was, a sophisticated marketing strategy disguised as financial education.
For over 80 years, the Commonwealth Bank has been allowed to enter Australia's classrooms to help teach children about the value of saving.
Dolomite account from outer space, please.
But the bank has now admitted that in 2013, staff activated thousands of bank accounts to help themselves to a cash bonus.
New concerns over the Commonwealth Bank's popular Dolomites program, with Consumer Group Choice calling out the scheme for teaching children as young as 8 the benefits of credit cards.
The idea was that this was supposed to be education. But what Choice is getting to is whether this has actually gone from education to be marketing. The second issue that they've got is really whether they're educating the right habits. So say, for example, when it comes to credit cards, we know that credit cards can cause real problems amongst young people in particular, and whether really they're giving the dangers of those credit cards, as well as obviously showing that there are credit cards out there that people can use.
So why weren't kids taught to compare banks instead? Why not teach them to shop around for the best rates rather than locking them into one institution from childhood? Because that wouldn't benefit the bank. We can see that instead of guiding us toward independence, they focus on products that make us lean on them. The less you rely on banks, the less they profit, so they rarely prioritize true financial education. Sometimes, or most of the time, governments or regulatory bodies can be slow to regulate. So it's important to make the right decisions for our kids. Now, moving on to financial advisors. If you ever walk into a big bank before 2017 in Australia, you were probably introduced to a bank financial advisor. Someone who was supposed to help you with your finances, but after the 2017 Royal Commission into Misconduct in the banking, superannuation, and financial services industry, the truth came out. These advisors weren't there to help you build wealth. They were there to sell bank products like retail super funds and manage investments. Sure, they might throw in some basic, mediocre financial advice, but at the end of the day, their job was to push their employees' services and products, not necessarily what was best for you. Most financial advisors working at banks haven't accumulated significant personal wealth, and this disconnection between their professional role and personal financial achievement raises important questions about the quality of their advice. Think about it. Would you take fitness advice from someone who's never been in shape? Banks aren't in the business of making you independent. They are in the business of keeping you dependent on them. If you truly want financial freedom, you need to educate yourself, compare options, and question the advice that benefits the bank more than it benefits you. Here's the final favorite bank secret: hiding the details in endless fine print. We're talking pages of complicated legal language, packed with fees, rate changes, and tricky conditions that most people never read. And banks know this. For example, some banks charge you just for talking to a teller, or if your balance drops below a certain amount, even the account maintenance fee is often hidden in these pages. And this fine print lets them change fees and terms whenever they want. So if an offer looks great at first glance, it's a good idea to check those details. At the end of the day, banks are businesses, but your financial health is your priority. Read the fine prints, question the fees, and don't be too loyal to your bank. Look for options that serve you. Comment below with one banking trick that you've uncovered. Let's help each other and save more and stress less. My name is Irene. I'll see you next time.